Back everyone to another episode of Coffee and Whiteboard Markets. I'm my co-host Matty Bissett.
Good afternoon.
I'm Miles O'Kane. Good to have you all back. My man, since I've left you last, any more updates on 3D fidget machines, 3D printing?
I've decided to start messing around with the settings in the printer.
How'd you do, Matthew?
I'm not very good, and I've destroyed a lot more filament than I was expecting to with a change of
the amount of details
settings.
needed each time, or just your creativity, Matthew?
All of it.
Right.
Miles, all of it.
Right. Right.
And I've started to try to figure out how to use that CAD program. You know, like how you design things. Like,
you were talking about that last week, weren't you?
yeah, I've started using it now, and
Right.
I think I'm going to keep finding stuff. It's way easier to find things.
So I don't know if it's the novelty, but the addiction compared, I imagine it'd be quite addictive. And where's that compared to last week? You're getting more into it, it's starting to wear off a bit, finding the time to do everything.
It's about the same.
Right.
The kids, every morning they wake up, what's going on the printer today? What's going on the printer today? So constantly trying to find things that they want and need, I guess.
Right.
After Christmas, there's not much they really need.
Right.
So, but still pretty good. Still enjoying it.
So
Still runs for about 10 hours a day.
That's a fair effort. Hardest thing you've created so far?
Trying to take the already made file and modifying it so it's bigger or smaller or whatever.
So give me an object.
So do you know that little fidget, that big
Yeah.
triangle thing? I'm
Yeah,
trying
yeah.
to make smaller versions of that.
Right, okay, right.
But every time I make it smaller, it prints flat and the handle doesn't work. I don't know what I'm doing.
You want travel versions, or you just want to go smaller?
Just small.
All right.
If you're in the classroom and you pull out this big thing, it's a little bit distracting for all the kids around.
Especially when you're the teacher as well.
Yeah, I know. So like if you're up the front with a little one,
Yeah.
it's probably not as bad.
Yeah. Final question on this. Have you thought any further about the name of your store when it comes to fidgets?
Not yet.
Right.
Not yet. I'll
Right.
keep you posted. Once I figure it all out, I'll keep you posted, Miles.
For our listeners out there, any ideas on Matty's names for his business, let us
Yep.
know in the comments. We'd appreciate it.
Definitely.
Yeah, cool.
Preferably a pun if I do.
Mate, I expect nothing less from
Yeah.
you. Guys, just a quick one, I do apologise for the attire today as my esteemed colleague brought up. It is currently 40 degrees in Perth and my sweat rate is ridiculous. So I thought, had a shirt with me, but didn't manage to make it here, so I do apologise. Okay, so that being said, Matthew, this episode we're going to look at old school teaching practices. What is happening in the class that still we have to keep, what we're going to ditch, and what needs updating. So, my story for this, 2012, I come back down from a 2-year stint in the country, or it might have been a year before. That year I landed back in Perth. My classroom was the final year that the blackboards were being used. And chalk. My point here being that even up to 2011, blackboard and chalk were still around.
Yep.
I'm so happy I never got to use. My handwriting is hard enough with whiteboard markers.
Horrible.
Chalk would have been a whole new level of frustration. How did your handwriting go?
Years of playing rugby and things like that, my fingers and knuckles don't bend like they used to. So my handwriting is atrocious.
The worst thing is when I'm in class as well. Like I'll sit there and actively go, okay, I need to actually focus on this. And then think at the time I'm doing awesome. And then I'll step back some time later and go, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. I need to do better.
Being in pre-primary, I worked quite well because they don't have very big words.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're like, I'm going to write cat, and you do a nice big c, and the bigger the font, the easier
Is
it
it
is.
like the blackboards in primary school? You had the lines across to fit it. You do? Yeah, okay. I wouldn't last a day.
The bigger the font, the easier it is to control because it's gross motor, not fine motor. My fine motor skills are horrible.
Right.
Gross motor, I'm all right.
My handwriting's so bad, I have to write everything in capitals so anyone can understand me.
Yep. One of those.
And then my final point being, I always, like similar to that, playing a lot of team sport and stuff, growing up, I always blamed on, I'm a big, fella, I don't need to have handwriting. My first year as head department at my current school, I had 4 guys in the math department, all big fellas, all had similar backgrounds with sport. We're sitting there one morning, all putting our notes up on the board.
Yep.
I get out of the class, and as I went around just having a chat to them, class by class, it got better and better. Got back to my whiteboard and went, this is ridiculous. I've got to lift my game here.
Yeah.
So, my first point here, Matthew, why do we have old school practices that stick around?
Well, I could imagine it's one, people don't retire at their retirement age anymore. They stick around for a lot longer. 2, the majority of the established teachers in schools are older that have been doing it for a long time.
Do you think it's a comfort thing? So once you do something over and over,
definitely.
and just
Because it takes a big person. Well, probably wouldn't even say a big person to be like. It takes an introspective person to look at their practices and go, well, that doesn't work. Let's change that.
And it probably didn't work for the last 10 years.
But lots of people, that's the way they were taught. They sort of monkey see, monkey do. That type of thing. And in 2025, 2026 now, doesn't really happen.
It's
like,
still,
things change. What worked on Monday with your year 8 class, it's not going to work on Friday with your year 8 class.
Do you remember your high school math lessons back in the day? Mm-hmm. Were you just taught here's a topic and then do 4,000 questions?
Yep. So it was teacher at the front.
Yep.
She had all these bangles on, so I remember her writing on the board. And then do a bit of a concept. It was poorly done.
Right.
And then you straight into turn to page 97 of your book, and we're going to ace these questions, which means you do A, miss B, do C,
every
miss E,
second column, whatever it is,
all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And let me know when you finish the chapter, and then she just go and sit at the front and do whatever she'll do.
So when was that? 2000, 99?
Ooh, 97 to 2002-ish.
Yeah. So 25 years later, that practice is still norm.
Yep.
In some schools. And don't get me like I that's how I was taught in school, and that's what I started off teaching my first couple of years.
So I was in a school last year, and again, math department, looking at just engagement and things like that. And some of the teachers did the exact same thing, and the kids were just, they were talking to each other, they're drawing on the table. Then another teacher literally chunked it into 5-minute. You do this for 5 minutes, then we have a bit of a game or walk around, do something easy. 5 minutes, bit of brain break, whatever, 10 minutes, and then it was independent work at the end. But because it was chunked in such small amount of time, the kids' attention was held.
And that's the key. I think all the students competing with everything these days for attention. Going through 5 minutes of a quick explanation of how to do algebra and distributed law.
Have you ever watched
a
teenager on their phone?
No.
They literally, like, TikToks would go for what? 15, 20, I don't have TikTok, so like 20 seconds?
Yeah.
They don't even get to the end of it. They just keep on going to the next one. It is insane how fast they go through things.
How much information you can get in a small amount as well. I remember like in high school spending like terms on like one topic. I've watched like 10-minute YouTube videos that taught me as much.
Yeah.
And you're like, it's just like this is where we're at with it. And now with the, everything else being smaller and smaller amounts of attention.
Yeah.
It's it's nuts. So
and that small amount of time with the teachers that adapt to the current practices and things like that.
Okay.
Their kids seem to be more engaged because they understand that they only have X amount of time. Those old school, I'm the teacher, you show me respect, we do it this way. They're the ones that struggle with behaviour management because their kids are like...
Yeah, okay, so this takes me to my next point. So let's do some examples of old school practices that might exist and need to be ditched. I think the common one here is like the public behaviour charts. But even if you go back a step from that, it's almost like the public shaming of a student or students. Don't get me wrong, it's not confusing going easy on students and being their friends, but to call a student out and berate them and try to sort of break them down that way, it doesn't exist anymore. And if anything, creates more harm than good. And I've worked with people in the past, and it can be a tricky one to deal with. But you've got to go. Like as soon as as we talked about many times over, as soon as you lose your calm and composure, it's off. And they've got you and the students have won. So any of that, putting public charts out there or the naming or shaming of students publicly, don't do anymore. It needs to get ditched.
The funny thing about that is if you have a look at any research that's come out in the last 15 years about behaviour management and things, all of them say do not use one of those, I'm in the green zone, I'm good, I've made a bat, the PEG system or your whole charts or, all that stuff is actually
aggravating.
Yeah, it's detrimental to
Yeah.
a child's inability to actually do the right thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Because most of the time they're not doing the right thing because they don't have the tools to do the right thing.
And to the other end of that, I think there can be toxic positivity as well. But I think
that's
whatever,
even worse.
but in terms of like, so if your ratio, whatever, there's different ratios out there, but I normally find a 3-to-1 ratio. So if your student's
Yeah.
done something bad, try find 3 things they've done well.
Yep.
So it's something simple like, well done, Johnny, you focus now, good work. Well done, Susie, you challenge yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that, and I can see it with my toddler as well, you can show they're on the right path.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when they're doing something wrong, you're staying firm with it. They understand, they start to negotiate where the boundaries are and where they can operate.
Mm-hmm. And you need to reward the effort.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just because some smart kid can do all of that work without having to put their hand up and bug the teacher, they should be rewarded for being able to do that, absolutely. But the poor kid in the corner who can't count to 7 and you're asking him to do year 9 math work, you know, encourage him when he puts his hand up. You know, do something. Otherwise, because if you belittle them, you put them on that chart, they just get further and further away from engaging in your work.
Yeah, and then they just dig in, don't they?
Yeah.
And suddenly it's a shame thing.
Absolutely.
What do you got for practice? Old school practices that still exist that need to be ditched?
I would say punishing the entire classroom.
Okay, give me an example.
So that table over there, they're all talking and the rest of the class is doing the right thing.
Yeah.
If everyone doesn't stop talking, the whole class stays in at recess. Why? What does it achieve? You know, like, but it happens all the time.
Yeah.
More and more because the class is noisy.
Yeah.
The teacher punishes all of everyone, not just the 3 or
so
4 people.
I'm sitting in the back corner doing my work and staying quiet.
Yeah.
And then because of what they've done, I'm being held. I'm being punished. Yeah.
And then the flip side of that is, if the teacher then lets these children go, then they sort of get, not picked on, but they get singled out about being a goody two-shoes or
Absolutely.
a brown noser.
Absolutely.
And then it sort of makes things worse for the
And
kid.
we've talked about it before, especially in high schools, the student's reputation is everything. So
Everything.
suddenly I'm the one doing the work when everyone else isn't. Why am I going to keep doing this? Because they're going to see me over there. And then, you know, you got to deal with the whole standing up for yourself and the bullying. Like, it's just, that's why it's crucial for the teacher to take control there.
Absolutely.
What about this one for you? Endless worksheets as engagement. I love that one. So you finish here, and then you get these ones to do instead. So I'm a kid going through them like, so my reward for doing everything well is to get more work.
So this is along the same lines. It's a bit of a side note.
Yeah.
If you think about just think about every time, you know, you go to work, you get your kids to do work and they smash the work and they're so happy that they're finished, and then you ask them to do a little bit more. They all kick off, because when you ask them to do something, the kids will be like this. Okay, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to put this in here. They do everything. They take all their cognitive capacity to complete the task for the teacher they like. Yeah. Or they take all of their cognitive capacity to finish the task just so the teacher will leave them alone.
Sure.
Oh, thank God I'm done. Oh, can you go back through now and draw a picture?
Now to the challenge questions.
And then out they go.
Yeah.
So if, you know, just don't give kids more work. If you want them to do all of that, put that at the beginning as the actual task to do.
Yeah.
You need to write your, you know, I'm going back to pre-primary stuff, weekend recount, holiday recount, go back to, you do your picture, so then that helps you jog your memory of what you wrote about.
Yeah.
Then you write, then you think about it, can you read it? Done. Hand it in, let them go play.
Yeah.
Let them do whatever. Don't go, oh, there's a couple of little rabbit holes, little mouse holes, go carve that in. That's busy work. Kids don't care.
Yeah, so our version,
They know this.
Our version of go play in high school is, I mean, you can sort of bring in some games there. A lot of like math card games and stuff, and math games, and whatever, puzzle sheets and stuff. But have something more fun. Still can be on content, still can be on topic.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got something to do as well. One more to go, and then we'll get on to.
I would go.
Yeah.
The thing that needs to go the most, and this is beyond school. This is more of a department whole thing. Work meetings that could be an email.
They don't exist, Matthew. Every meeting I've ever been to is highly effective.
Oh.
Highly effective. Yeah. So to speak the truth, speak on it.
You sit there and your mind, you're like this. You're listening. You're like, you sent all of this in the email notes about the meeting. Why am I here? I could be doing I could be painting my toenails. That would be more interesting than listening to you re-go over the PowerPoint that you made me read in the email you sent me about this meeting.
Well, yeah, and that's I think the common frustration there with teachers is because you've got no time. Any time you want to use in class or to do stuff could be used for planning, marking, and whatever. And those situations, it can feel like the person at the front is just doing it for a checker box. They're doing it because to help out, their career or possible their career advancements so you got to balance time with effectiveness.
Obviously, every school's different the way they do their staff being and stuff. But some schools have a meeting every 2 weeks for an hour every 2 weeks.
Like a whole school.
Yeah, and then they'll have another every, say, week 4 and week 8, they'll have like a 2-hour meeting.
Yeah.
Why?
There are
there are obviously constraints that you have to follow through, like the department and things. But come on.
Yeah, it can get crazy. Yeah, and my in a leadership position, put my leadership hat on. My thing for my staff is they're most effective when they're in class, modifying their lessons for the learning environments. Anything I can do to put back on that's where the biggest effect's going to take place.
Like I get the beginning of the year, you have your whole day school development day where admin will get up and go, these are the things that we're doing this year. We're going to try to do this. We're going to try to do that.
Yeah.
This is the new stuff. Everyone say, hey, Miles, yeah, and then go about your day. You don't need to go, I've got to pad out another hour and a half. We know you're padding out an hour and a half. No one's listening.
Right.
Everyone's doing the work that they should be doing.
And no one's got attention spans that they had 5 years ago,
No.
10 years ago.
I can tell you right now that whenever I go to a PL or we go to a staff meeting, whatever, I'm on my computer and I'm either...
Taking notes for the people out there on video right now.
I'll take what they're talking about and I do my own reading, my own thing because it's faster, it's easier for me to do that than sit there and listen to someone speak slowly.
Yeah.
It does my head in.
Yeah, I think you'd agree as well. Don't get me wrong. There is people who deliver very good PD.
Absolutely.
But my thing is these days I do most of my PD online because it can go through self-paced.
Yeah, and like you get those presenters, you're like, this presenter knows the content. They've got a PowerPoint up there.
Yeah.
But they're 9 slides down and they haven't turned the PowerPoint over yet. But then they're the good ones. Then you get the person who goes, and this is what we're going to do this year. And this is, you're like, that is an old school thing that needs to go.
So let's go the other way now. Practices that still exist that deserve a place. Routines and expectations. So have routines, have classroom routines, and keep, like anything, communication's big, yeah? So if you're telling students to be on time for class, make sure you're on time to class. If you're telling students that to be respectful, make sure you're being respectful.
You know what? Another good old school habit that needs to go on that topic is the whole do as I say, not as I do mentality.
Hold up.
Yeah. So you're saying...
Is this the same as actions, not words?
Yeah. So you're saying if you want the kids to be on class...
On time.
You can't say, you need to be here on time and then you get there 2 minutes late. So that's do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
If they're doing what you're doing, they're going to get there late.
Absolutely.
So if you want kids to be on time, you be on time.
Yeah.
If you want kids to use manners, you use manners.
Yeah.
If you want kids to be respectful,
Yeah.
you be respectful. You know, that type of thing. That old...
Absolutely.
I'm the teacher, I'm the boss, I'm in charge.
Yeah.
You do as I say. Like, yes, teachers are still in charge. They're still the boss of the classroom. I get all that.
You got to earn the respect.
Yeah, and the communication part, through routines, through expectations, through being a fair human, is how you get that.
Yeah, and I think, so I was thinking about it today actually, even communicating, student lateness, and it's not like students who are consistently 10 minutes late to class. But just communicating them, so I've got to come deal with you couple outside right now, but as I'm doing that, I've got to take away from their education. My whole thing with education is should get, you guys and girls to a better place.
Yep.
Once the students see that, they're like, it's not just the teachers going nuts at me as a person. Yep. It's like, okay, not only is it, trying to keep me accountable as a student, but it's, we're a team or a family and here can be real cliched about it.
Yeah,
going
absolutely.
down that path.
No, I'm all for, if you expect kids to do something in your classroom, you do it. If you're asking these kids to do 27 pages in a textbook, do it with them. Mm-hmm. Show them that you can do it. Because every now and then when I've got to teach high school, I'll be like, I don't know what that means.
Three whiteboards for year 9 or above, Matthew.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, you know what? We're going to Google that. I don't know what that means, but Let's learn together.
Yeah, and some of the math books these days, mate, are still using vocabulary from like 20 years ago.
I don't even know. I don't ever remember learning this. This is not a word that I remember.
Kids love getting quotient. They're like, what the? Just divide. Yeah. Just go divide stuff. That's all we're going to do. But yeah, you think it'd help them out. Go, what we got? Old school practice that needs to remain.
Ooh. I would say knowing your content and planning it. Now, some people, they're all about the learn in the moment and do all that. I'm one of those people.
Building relationships and stuff.
Yeah, you build relationships, but I don't have a very detailed daily work plan. Never have.
Yeah.
But because I sort of know, I've got a pretty good understanding of what to teach.
And I imagine a primary school teacher's got to be a jack of all trades,
Yeah,
don't
it's
you?
very different as a primary school teacher than a high school teacher.
Yeah.
But you sort of, over time, you get to understand that even if you get scales of model 9.2, there's like 5 words different than 9.1.
Right.
Like nothing's, unless it's a big change and they tell you, then you go read it and it's a bit different. But you need to, just like in the olden days, they had a very good knowledge of content. You still need to know that content inside and out, because knowing that content is then how you can differentiate in classrooms to better get kids engaged. So that type of knowing your curriculum, knowing what's going to happen, needs to stay. You can't just go, well, you know what today, Miles, what do you want to learn about? I want to learn about dinosaurs. Cool. Let's learn about dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Because our education system doesn't work like that.
Absolutely.
So you do still need to know your content and how to link it to different things.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the...
Yeah, and especially in high school, if you can get it anywhere, if you can get it back to a realistic example in real life, that's where the key comes from.
Yeah, definitely.
My last point here is going to be a little bit controversial. I'm still a big believer in note taking and student note taking. Now, let me go for a second. If I've got notes on the board, a lot of students that haven't had me before go, "Sir, can I take a photo of this?" Which I understand. Obviously, phones shouldn't be out, but I understand everything's about the technology these days. I still think there's an amount of what I'm saying to my classes, when you're taking notes, actually, if you can put it in your own words, even better, because that's where the deeper learning takes place. Yep. And I'm not saying like copy pages down, but it might just be half a page. They're writing, if they can interpret in their own words, excellent. If they can't, at least they can see my kind of structure to work through. Whereas if they're taking photos, understand at the time it's going to be more efficient, but it's not necessarily going to be as deep of a learning experience for them. What's your thoughts? Should note taking in class? It's probably in primary school. Is there much note taking?
Definitely not in pre-primary, Mike.
Start them young, Matthew. Come on.
In the upper years, there is.
Yeah.
You know, like they do the look at the board, copy the board, look at the board, copy the board, look at the board.
There's a time and a place for it as well. You can overdo it.
There is, and technology is great. It does some wicked things, but it doesn't replace this, because you write. It sends a signal to your brain and it sort of starts that whole learning process. When you're just looking at a photo amongst 7,000 other photos that are on your phone, so note-taking is important. Writing things word for word from the board is absolutely pointless. That you do not get a piece of learning. But if you're reading the board and you say, okay, you know what, I want you guys to write down 4 sentences that summarize this whole thing in your own words.
Yeah, and you can
very beneficial.
Yeah.
If you make them write down, in 1922 we did this. No.
Yeah.
They're not going to learn anything.
The reason I probably, and I find even to this day, if I haven't taught like an upper school subject in math for a few years, I've got to go back and redo some of the problems and stuff. I've got to write down step for step.
Yeah.
And it might just even be some of the theory. And I find and again, it's different generational types and stuff and different thinkers, but I still find that for me, the knowledge sinks in deep as well.
But it's not just you, that's everyone.
Yeah.
So there's a whole bunch of articles, research, but it's all about the schools that adapt technology throughout the school. So schools that they type everything from a young age, they do all of that, everything's online.
Yeah.
They actually end up getting less progress than the kids who write everything.
Yeah, right.
And it's not because the technology is horrible, it's not used properly. Technology is used amazing in those schools.
Yeah.
The difference is it's that surface level.
Yeah.
You know, like our brains
Yeah.
are still wired to learn through our hands, through doing, through writing.
Yeah.
We're not computers. We don't it's a new thing. Our brains haven't evolved to learn that way yet.
I mean, the amount of everyone knows watching a film these days and scrolling through a phone, the amount of multitasking that happens as well. Whereas you're trying to do everything at once instead of one thing well.
Yep.
Looking at time, my man. Last couple of minutes. Let's look at ways how schools can decide what to keep or what to throw away.
You know what you could do, Miles?
Matthew.
You could have staff meeting.
Yeah, like an extra long one.
An extra long staff meeting.
Yeah.
And come up with all of these things, like all these dot points, and as a staff you could vote on them.
That's not bad, actually.
Yeah, and then admin could do absolutely nothing with it.
No comment. No comment at all. That would be interesting, actually, wouldn't it?
But I think because you want to get a consensus across the school,
it's tough.
It's very tough.
It's tough.
If you had a list of things that are old school versus new school in a staff meeting, and then get debates. Why should we keep this? Why should we bring this in? Can we keep this but modify it with this? Can we then start linking the new things with the traditional way of doing things and have like a hybrid way of doing education?
Yeah, no, that's very good.
I would say that would be a very beneficial staff meeting, Miles.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, especially the start of the year as well. What one potential thing I can see happening there is the old school staff can start to see and to sort of try to be. You need strong leadership to give everyone.
Yeah, good point.
If you're a new staff member and someone's been here for 40 years,
yep.
You might not be as willing to give your opinion, but at the same time,
I know these young people, they give a lot of opinions.
So many opinions, all the time opinions.
So many. So I don't know if they're going to hold back.
Yeah, so I think that's a good point there. Involve teachers in decision making. I think trial changes as well, and don't just go in and do this. Like when you're trying to implement something, have a few steps of where you want to be, short-term targets, and then a longer-term target. And
also understand that this is where you're at and this is your goal. It doesn't just go like this. It goes like that. You're going to you might achieve it in a week, but then in 2 weeks it won't work because you get complacent. So you just got to keep on tweaking things and changing things because each kid is different.
Absolutely.
You can't have one teaching model for the entire school. It doesn't work because you've got different kids. That's my controversial statement of the day, Miles.
So look, there we hit the first team. Matthew's taken over the world. No, look, guys. I mean, it's like everything. It's a tricky situation. There's going to be pros and cons to everything. Look, that's just our idea. 2 teachers have been around for a while. Things that are still around, things that need to change. And then if you got any other ideas, or you want to, hit us up for ideas or some reflection, let us know.
Yeah,
we can go from there.
And definitely don't forget the pun names in the comments.
$1 million. Like always, team, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.